All right, let's look at the Canucks defensemen from 2018-2019. Of course, that tells us the story for 29-20. But if we just go in general, to start with, think about who did well. We look at guys like Alex Edler, who had a pretty good defensive season. He's getting old. You worry how long he can keep it together, but he's been an important defenseman for the Canucks. You can understand why there is interest in trying to bring him back. They still have to do that. Of course, he's a free agent in the summer. But we have every reason to think the Canucks are going to try to bring him back. They certainly said that in the past. So if he starts the domino effect, we have to then look at how the rest of that plays out. You look at, say, like Ben Hutton. Ben Hutton, also free agent. He's a restricted free agent, so he doesn't have a whole lot of play in terms of negotiating power and that sort of thing. But he's also a player that you're not quite sure how he fits in because, yeah, he had a pretty good season. He certainly had, in terms of the narrative, of a rebound from last year where he was a scratch so many times. But he's a player that you're like, I'm not sure what else he's going to be. This is kind of what he is. He's a good skater. He moves the puck well. You know, you look at him, you think he could be a bigger contributor on offense. He's kind of is what he is. On a team that doesn't have a whole lot of high-end defensemen, I don't think he's really going to be that. And that brings us to Quinn Hughes, who we saw at the end of the season. We can see where he's going, can see his progression. Such a great skater, such a great creator with the puck. And you know what? That's in many ways the best defense is having good offense, keeping the puck away from the other team. He is the modern defenseman. So if you sit and compare the two of them, you go, okay, well, Hughes, really, you want to play him more. I mean, yes, he's young, but you want to give him as much time as possible. So playing behind Edler, say, as the second defenseman, then you're all of a sudden just trying to decide, okay, what do I do on the third pairing? Okay, is that Hutton? Is that somebody else? And so then we go from there. So then you can start seeing, okay, I'm not quite sure how Hutton fits in, especially if he needs a raise. Especially if you are wanting to create something different. As Jim Benning has said, he wants to have a different look on the defense. They'd like to find a defenseman, whether that's in a trade, whether that's in free agency. That's something to watch. So you can start seeing why Hutton doesn't necessarily fit into that. There's Olli Juolevi, of course, who probably will start the season in Utica, of course, because he's coming back from his knee injury. But given the plan the Canucks seem to have laid out, which was that he was going to play part of the season in Vancouver this past season, he'll be in the big leagues next season, you'd think, for the most part. So there's another guy that needs to find space. Again, what do you do with Hutton? If we look at the the right side, you start from the top. Troy Stecher. Troy Stecher had a fantastic season, put up his best sort of statistical season he's ever had on a team that actually was still struggling to generate play in the offensive end. He's not an offensive defenseman in terms of his ability to score, but we know he can create with the puck. He put up 21 assists. He was a very, very useful player in that regard. Wasn't great on the power play, but great on the penalty kill. He's the kind of guy that, you know, realistically going forward, you'd love to have as, you know, your right side second pairing defenseman. Chris Tanev, of course, we know they love his defensive abilities, but is the guy ever going to stay healthy? It's unlikely, given how often he's been hurt over recent seasons, that he will be able to play the full schedule. So again, that comes into your question: how do you fit a new defenseman in? Are you looking for a right side defenseman? Are you looking for a left sided defenseman? And then, of course, beyond that, you have Alex Biega, who, you know, has been such a trooper, but really he's a depth player, as is Luke Schenn. Luke Schenn came in, showed well. They've got to re-sign him, of course, if they want to keep him around next year. You know, so lots of questions there on the right side. And as I said, there is that question of what do you do to change up this group. It was a group that, you know, wasn't great, but wasn't awful. But you know what? If you're trying to move up the standings, if you really do believe you can get yourself into the playoffs next year, which is a tall order, not impossible, but a really tall order, you're going to have to find a new mix in there. It's going to be interesting summer to watch on the Canucks Blue Line.